Welcome in, everybody. This is the 2025 Boys State Basketball Preview Show here on IdahoSports.com. We're excited. We've got all the guys in the green room just waiting to come on. I am Paul Kingsbury, your host tonight. Brandon Vaney had something much better to do, and so he is off doing that. And so you're going to have me for everyone tonight. And you're going to meet all the broadcasters for all 6 classifications that will be broadcasting the games on IdahoSports.com. We're going to start off with the 6A classification. And we're going to bring our guys in one at a time, and they're going to kind of a little introduction, little bio, so you know who's going to be calling your games. First up, Lucas Gebhart. Lucas, welcome in, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back on 6A this year. This is going to be 3 years in a row now. So I've seen a lot of these teams now. I've seen some of these teams grow up. I've seen some of these players, like Nash Humphreys from Madison, seen him ever since he was a sophomore. Now he's going to be a senior playing in his third consecutive state tournament that I'll be watching. So it's been fun to watch these kids kind of grow throughout the years, and excited to be doing it once again.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, just what you do for a day job, how long you've been.
Yeah, so I've been doing games for Idaho Sports for about 10 years now, which is kind of crazy. I started back when I was in college. I was a freshman at Idaho State, started doing color, started doing camera, kind of worked my way into more of a play-by-play role. And once I graduated from Idaho State, I moved out to Boise. I'm now an associate director of sales for Visit Boise. So I work to bring sports tournaments and conventions and things like that to the Boise area that kind of helps improve economic impact and things like that. So that's my day-to-day job. And this is kind of morphed into kind of a side thing that I do, which is awesome. It keeps us in touch with some of the ADs and stuff around town, which is good for this and the day job, right? So, but it's fun. My day is filled with sports from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, so I can't complain about too much.
And we have a lot of stories from the last 10 years that we won't go into. But let's meet your broadcast partner, Ryan Luke. Ryan, welcome in. You're going to another job tonight, right?
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. All good, yeah. So I've been broadcasting, 3 years now that I've been doing this? But I broadcasted prior to that. I was in Utah. I drive to Salt Lake City and broadcast down there. But I also do some of the College of Idaho sports stuff. I'll do some there. That being said, I kind of dabble in recruiting, try to get my network out there and see the who's who, and I like to keep my eyes on kids. My day job, I'm a rep for an automotive manufacturer, so I deal with cars and dealerships all day. That's what I do.
Do you deal with recruiting in high schools? Because that's a big thing right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I try to help kids get spotted. There are a couple of kids, and I'm not going to name names, but was able to get them some stars on a couple of boards, and since then they were able to get recruited, and they're playing college football as we speak.
Right on. Very cool. Well, guys, this is the 6A. In fact, let's move some guys around. There you go. So this is the 6A broadcast team. We'll be at the Ford Idaho Center this weekend. Guys, let's take a look at that bracket you're going to be calling. So here we've got the 6A Boys State Tournament, and of course those semifinals and loser-out games swap on Friday. And you guys will follow the semi-final teams, and the other guys will come to the Idaho Center for their loser-out games. We've got number 3 versus number 6 right off the bat. Madison, Boise, then 2 versus 7, Lake City, Thunder Ridge, 1 versus 8, Owyhee, Bora, number 4, Timberline versus number 5, Meridian. Let's start off with you, Ryan. Ryan, what kind of stands out to you on this bracket?
Well, how heavy the SIC is represented there. I mean, you have a ton of teams from the Boise area, and they all know each other really, really well. I think the thing that really stands out about the SIC is the fact that Capital is not on that list.
Right.
And Capital lost early on. They were the number 2 seed going into the SIC tournament, and just for whatever reason got bumped and couldn't play their way back into it and ended up out. The flip side, the inverse of that, is that Boise High somehow got hot, rode a hot hand, took Owyhee basically to the wire in the SIC championship game, snuck in, and all of those wins that they had to get them there actually bumped them up to the number 6 seed. And their reward for getting number 6, well, they're going to play Madison in the first round.
Lucas, what about you? What are you looking at on this bracket?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what Ryan was talking about is who's not in the bracket. It's the first thing that stands out to me. I kind of touched on Capital there, but Centennial is another team that I thought had a really nice year. This bracket is actually missing the top 2 scoring offenses in all of 6A, and that's Capital and Centennial. So the best offensive team in the bracket is not the best offensive team across the classification, which you don't really see every day. But Bora entered the district tournament as an 11 seed in the district tournament. So they were the 11th seed out of 12 teams out of the SIC, and they end up making it to the state tournament. Timberline, a team that had to win a play-in game to get there. Meridian had to fight its way into the state tournament. So there's a lot of teams in this bracket that kind of had their seasons on the line the last few days and into the last week, kind of fighting through that district tournament. Boise's a team that I like a lot coming into this tournament. I think they're one of the nice young teams coming in with that 6th seed. They've taken Hawaii. They've kind of been one of the only teams in Idaho that's really given Hawaii any sort of trouble this year. So Boise's a team that I actually really like on that 6th line. And then, coming and then you look at North and East Idaho, and it was pretty much chalk. The team that we expected out of the North, Lake City, they end up making it. Post Falls did not make it. That was a top 5 team out of the North as well, lost to that playing game. And then Thunder Ridge, first time that they've ever made a state tournament. So it's going to be fun to watch them too.
Yeah, Ryan, one thing that Ryan Skaggs, our North Idaho broadcast, we'll hear from him in the 4As. He said during the season, he thought Lake City might be the only team that has a chance to beat Hawaii. Have either one of you had a chance to see Lake City play this year?
Yeah, so we had Lake City last year, and they have, Lake City brings something interesting, and we talk about this, all the time. We don't know what North Idaho has. I mean, it's the reality. Like, they could be really good. They could not. But I do know what I saw last year, and they have some returning players, but they're led by the senior Reese Strawn. And Reese had a phenomenal tournament. He's a shooter. He's a playmaker. He really creates a lot. He is the engine of that Lake City team. Now, is he the leading scorer? Can be. Any given night, he could be the leading scorer, but he's a distribution man, and he really ignites that offense. The thing that I like about Lake City is they have youth. They have he's a sophomore now. He's 6'9". He plays travel club AAU ball with a bunch of guys out of Spokane, and they do a really good job in terms of trying to get it there. And hold on, I'm getting the name. Wait for it.
Jordan Carlson.
Jordan Carlson.
He's like 6'10". He's got a nice mid-range game. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they have a lot of pieces that, and this is why they could give Hawaii fits. Hawaii doesn't match up really well with them. So if Hawaii's going to push them, say those two teams eventually meet in the final, Hawaii's going to have to take it to Lake City versus trying to make Lake City adjust to them versus having them adjust to Lake City. They just size and athleticism. It's going to be tough for Hawaii to match up. That being said, Hawaii has so many different scoring options. Bowden Howell is a phenomenal scorer. He's going to play at the next level. Housevite does a really good job igniting that offense. So they can ignite the offense from a lot of different places. Lake City's going to have to adjust to them, and that's the only way. If Lake City's going to make the other team adjust to them, then that's what they're going to have a chance. But like I said, they just don't match up really well in terms of size.
So with that, all SIC lower half of the bracket is pretty much Hawaii's bottom half of the bracket, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I would say, they're definitely a heavy favorite for sure, especially since they've seen those teams all year. Bora, we already kind of touched on them, but Timberline Meridian, I think, will be a very interesting game on Thursday, and they end up getting Timberline. Timberline's a pretty pesky defensive team, so that could be an interesting matchup if Hawaii has kind of an off shooting night or something. I could see maybe Timberline maybe giving Hawaii some problems in the semifinals. But, yeah, the path definitely looks pretty good for Hawaii to get to the championship there at the bottom half.
Yeah, that top half's pretty stacked. I mean, you've got Madison, Lake City, Thunder Ridge. I mean, they're number 7, but they came out number 2 in their conference over there. I mean, it was a very tough conference. First time there, very cool for the Titans. And again, your reward for that is here's Lake City. But I don't think yes, they're number 7, but I think they're a better team than a number 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is there's not as many. Their schedule wasn't quite as competitive as some of the Boise schools. They did end up playing 7 schools or 7 teams that have made the state tournament, but they're 1-6 in those games. So that's the issue. They have played Timberline. They have played Bora. They have a win against Boise. They played Meridian, and then obviously they played Madison. So really, the only team out of the top half of the bracket that they've really played is Madison, and they only have one win out of teams from the state for that made the state tournament, and that's Boise. And they have some other. They played a lot of 5A schools too, which I don't think helped their max prep rankings. But their record against 6A schools is 8-7. So they've been okay against 6A, but they are one of those schools that they just haven't been to this stage yet. It's the first time they've ever made a state tournament. So that's the thing that worries me a little bit more about Thunder Ridge than anything else. It's just pretty much every one of these teams, except for them and Bora, have been to this stage in some recent years.
So Ryan, which game are you looking forward to seeing the most on day one?
Well, if we're talking about, I mean, I got to get a shout out to Boise. I mean, they've gotten hot at the right time. And when I say hot, like they won a bunch of games in the SIC, like I said, in the conference tournament to get to where they are. I don't know. They're pesky. They're fundamentally good. I think Lake City, Thunder Ridge, I think Lake City is going to roll. I think Hawaii is going to roll versus Bora, and I think Timberline and Meridian is probably your best first round matchup. But I'd say the sneaky one's going to be Boise, Madison. If Boise can play like they have been playing, giving them fits, they have a couple of guys that are playing pretty well and they're shooting the ball well. Defensively, they play good sound defense. They just have to shoot well. If Boise shoots well, they'll give Madison a game. Outside of that, I'd say Timberline Meridian is going to be your best bet. Alex Coe, shoot the lights out. He's a phenomenal player for Timberline. Showed it last year. Took him into the state championship game. So, sorry, I gave you two.
That's all right. That's all right. Lucas, what about you? What do you got?
Yeah, I really like that Madison-Boise matchup at the top of the bracket. Ryan kind of touched on it already, but I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I really like Boise. Boise's a kind of a little bit of a younger roster. I really think they are kind of an up-and-coming school in the SIC. They're hot right now. They played Hawaii close in the district championship game. They have a guy, Michael Nance, he's a 6'7" wing. He's one of the best shot blockers in the history of the SIC. They also have Eli Rich, who's placed third in the 100-meter dash last year. He's a wide receiver on their football team too. And he's one of you talk to their coaching staff and they say that he's one of the best defenders that they've ever seen. So there's your matchup on Madison's Nash Humphreys there. They'll probably put Rich on him if Nance can kind of control the low post. They also have another freshman. They have a 6'8" freshman, Harrison Ball, too, that can really stretch the floor, too. So I really like the balance that Boise has. And then anytime you get a team in that noon time slot, for whatever reason in this bracket, we just see upsets in that time slot all the time. 2 years ago, Lake City lost in that time slot when they were the number 1 seed to Centennial. Hawaii has lost in that time slot. That was the 2023 tournament, lost to Meridian. So that time slot can be a little bit tricky, that noon tip-off. The body clocks are a little bit off. So that's the matchup that I'm most excited to see. And I think Boise can be a really pesky team. I think they can win that game.
Well, let's take a look at some comments real quick, guys. And if you're watching right now, go ahead and like, okay, because we can see how many people are out there, and the like to viewer ratio is, I mean, it's worse than Scott Burton's free throw percentage. That's pretty bad. So hit that like button real quick. Hit it, okay? So first up, Sam. What's up, Sam? Could Madison be on upset watch against the Boise team? You just talked all about that one.
Yeah.
Jet, no, we haven't. Just throwing that in there. Ryan throwing in comments from the green room. Lake Carlson and Lake City can get out and run. Strawberry Miller and company can stretch the floor and transition. You're going to have your own segment, Ryan. Your own.
Yeah, listen. Lake City's a good team. They're the top ranked team out of the Spokane area on Max Preps. They played the top team, the number 1 team out of Oregon. So they're battle tested. They played Hawaii before, so they've seen the top team in the bracket. They're certainly a dangerous team, and they got some weapons for sure.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of weapons,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to go to the player to watch.
Yes, let's do that. I love where your head is.
Okay, Michael Dance of Boise, Dylan Lukengay of Bora, Reese Strawn of Lake City, talked about him. Nash Humphreys of Madison, talked about him. TJ Sainer of Meridian, Bowden Howell of Hawaii, Deegan Branson, Thunder Ridge, Alex Coe of Timberline. Guys, go.
It's funny. I mentioned 4 of those guys on there. I honestly, I think Reese Strawn. I mean, he really stood out to me last year when he led the team, and they came back into the consolation bracket. And I think they ended up winning that, and they did a phenomenal job. And while I don't know if Lake City's my pick, I'll give you my pick after this. They are fun to watch, and to me, it's kind of an enigma. Again, being North Idaho, we just don't know what you guys have up there. If I were to pick one from here, it's Alex Coe, because if he gets hot, he can just drop bombs from anywhere. He creates his own shot really well as a step back jump shooter. He plays off of picks really well. He can light up a scoreboard if needs be.
Now I'm gonna throw something in here. They're playing at the Ford Idaho Center. I want you guys to watch for this. So, and I mention this every time I'm doing a game there. They've got that extended 3-point line on that court. And girls basketball, boys basketball, doesn't matter. Everything gets stretched out. That extra, 8-10 inches behind the high school line and that extra line. And so offenses get spread out, and 3-point shots are that's an extra foot about, and that throws off shots. And so those guys that are dropping bombs in the regular season, sometimes it takes them a game or at least a half to kind of get that range back as they shoot and they airball or hit the front of the rim because they're just lining up behind that line. So keep an eye on that. I noticed it in the 6A girls tournament 2 weeks ago. It's something that always happens.
Yeah, that's why defense matters so much in this tournament. I think this is a defensive tournament. I mentioned at the top that the top 2 scoring offenses in this classification aren't in this tournament. So I really do think that defense is going to go a really long ways. It's and Timberline's got the best defense. Hawaii's got a really good defense too. Hawaii on paper is clearly the best team in this bracket. But to go to your point, especially Thursday, defense is going to matter for sure.
All right, guys, let's take a look again at players to watch. Who are you most excited to see, Lucas?
I'm going to take Bowden Howell from Hawaii. He's going to be playing at Rice when he's done playing at Hawaii. Kind of the next Division I. I mean, there's a couple Division I athletes playing for Hawaii right now. It's Howell and Logan Housefite, who's got 3 D1 offers right now. But Howell's on his way to Rice. He's probably the best playmaker in the state. He's a mismatch nightmare that his head coach, Andy Harrington, calls him. So they have a lot of different ways that they can use him too. And he's kind of the straw that stirs that offense. So I think he's going to be a real exciting player to watch. This is a Hawaii team. Listen, I get it. They're good. They've won. They might win again. But this is really something special that we're seeing with this Hawaii team. There's some really, really good basketball players on this team. They have 6 players that are going to be playing at the next level. You can only start 5. So that means their first guy off the bench is a college basketball player. Right. That's something you don't see every day in Idaho high school basketball.
Well, they were very close to be playing for a 3-peat, right? They won in 2002 and then 20, and this year they're favored. So, yeah, they're a good team. Let's go, Ryan. Who you most looking forward to seeing?
Well, I'll go again. Like I said, I liked Reese Strawn. I like to see him, the engine of that team. And then I went with Alex Coe as well. Again, step back jump shooter, pure shooter. You talk about guys who can shoot the ball very pure. Bowden Howell is a great shooter as well. But I'm trying to think a little bit outside of the box. I have not seen Deegan Branson, so I can't comment on that. But from the Valley, Alex Coe, and then my statewide pick would be Reese Strawn.
All right. Well, there you go. There is the 6A preview. Guys, do you have any more to wrap this up? Any more thoughts that I didn't give you a chance to say?
Our picks.
Okay, I'm not going to strong arm you guys into doing picks you don't want to make. But if you want to do picks, let's do it.
I don't mind. I'll shoot for it. Yeah.
All right, Lucas, go ahead. Who's your pick to championship game in the winter?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think Hawaii's path to the championship. I mean, they've seen all those teams before. So I'm going to go ahead and slot them into the championship. And then I think this is what Ryan's probably going to pick too, but I do like Lake City as well. Lake City's a pretty good team. I like their matchup against Thunder Ridge in that first matchup. And then, like I said, I think Madison could have some trouble with Boise. And Boise's hot right now. And if they do play Boise, I do like Lake City to win that game against Boise. But man, if we get a Madison Lake City semifinal, that's going to be a heck of a game too. So
it is. It's going to be a great semifinal.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a semifinal. So, but I like Lake City, Hawaii, and then I just don't see how you can't pick Hawaii to win this thing. If they play the top at their top, they play their best game. There's no reason they shouldn't win this tournament.
Yeah, I'll almost echo the exact same thing. Listen, Hawaii has a path. We've seen them. They've done it before. They're phenomenal. They're very good basketball team. Here's the thing, and here's the reason. Here's the only reason I'm going to pick Boise over Madison in the first round. Boise has some size and length. Tallest guy on Madison, 6'4". That's it. And Boise has a couple of towers that they run really well that are athletic and can move and can block shots. I think that's going to give them some trouble. That said, even if we see a Madison Lake City round 2 thing, I still think Lake City has them. I'm going to go Hawaii Lake City, and in the end, I think Hawaii is just too much to handle. My pick's Hawaii.
All right.
Yeah. They already played each other earlier in this year, and Hawaii won by 20. So Lake City's good, but that's how good Hawaii is. Hawaii is, arguably one of the best teams in the region, not just the state.
Truth.
Well, and they during the season, I mean, they schedule those tournaments that are out of state to get better. So that's the way you got to do it.
Yeah, they played some of the best teams in the country. They haven't won those games, but they played some top 50 teams in the country this year.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for the 6A Hawaii State Tournament Preview Show. Ryan, Lucas, Gebhart are going to be on the call at the Ford Idaho Center. Thanks, guys. We'll take a break, and we will be back with the 5A Tournament Preview with Scott Burton right after this.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.